This is Chief Meteorologist Mallory Schnell alongside meteorologist Austin Evans, and we are cutting into coverage this evening for a tornado warning that has been issued for portions of our viewing area. So we're going to get right to that. You can see the red box that we're seeing here. That is a tornado warning that's in place for Harrison County in Indiana until 9:45 Eastern. So this is along a line that's called a QLCS, or a squall line, that can occur out ahead of a cold front. And what happens is along these lines, we get some very gusty winds, but we can also get some spin-up tornadoes along the leading edge. So that is what this warning has been issued for at this time. You'll notice this is just to the west of Jefferson County here in the Louisville metro area, so we'll be paying close attention to that. But what we're watching along these leading edges here is anywhere we're seeing little nubs. When you see nubs along that leading edge of a squall line, that's where we can start to see some rotation occur. So the National Weather Service did go ahead and issue this for the next 20 minutes. And as always, if you are included in a tornado warning, it's always best to head to your safe place. That's the lowest level of your home, away from windows, and to protect your head here. Now, if we do take a big picture view of what we're looking at, this is the leading edge of this storm system. I'm not sure if we're able to cut off the music at all, but this is the leading edge of the storm system here. You can see the reds. That's obviously very heavy rainfall, but anytime we have a squall line like this, you're just looking at the leading edge. Once the leading edge has passed your area, you are out of the severe weather threat. So everyone behind that line, English, Paoli, Bedford, Salem, up to Seymour, Jasper, the gustiest winds and any kind of tornado threat that you could have seen this evening, that has now passed you and pushed off to the east and slightly southeast here. Now, we do have some severe thunderstorm warnings in place along with this tornado warning, but obviously the tornado warning is our biggest concern at this time. So if you are in Harrison County, Indiana, this is in place until 9:45. I'm actually going to step off screen for just a moment here so we can get a better look at this storm. So zooming in here, if you are in Elizabeth, Dogwood, New Middletown, Central, you are included in this tornado warning here. Please head to your safe place until this has passed. So anytime you see little notches in the flow here, the National Weather Service must have seen something that really caught their attention and showed that this line is trying to wrap up just a bit. You can get what's called these inflow notches, and with that, it does look like, did they go ahead and issue another warning on the south side of this?
It looks like it, yeah, they've issued it now, including Brandenburg, West Point in Kentucky. We're pretty much parked right on the river here, so we're dealing with place names in both Indiana and Kentucky now. West Point appears to be in Kentucky, Brandenburg, Kentucky, Mockport just across the river under this warning, Lasonia and Buena Vista also under this warning, Fishtown, Cosmodale, and Valley Station, PRP, Casino. I want you all paying attention to this storm. In fact, I'd go ahead and start preparing to get into your safe spaces because the storm's not quite there. It's still got a little bit of time, but you're right on the edge.
Right. So I'm going to take the radar here for just a moment so we can see where our warnings are currently. So obviously the red, those are your tornado warnings. And we have two separate ones, even though it looks like one big polygon here. So we have that northernmost one. This is for Harrison County. And then the southernmost one that includes Brandenburg and West Point. That is also until 9:45. So we're looking at these inflow notches. There's a wider severe thunderstorm warning. We also have that for portions of the Louisville metro, including New Albany, Jeffersonville, Floyd's Knobs, Georgetown. You all are included in a severe thunderstorm warning until 9:45. So that is specifically for 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts as we continue to see the storm system move to the east at 45 miles per hour here.
Mallory, if you can pop up radar real quick over the severe storm that you have highlighted. I'm keeping an eye on that notching in Floyd's Knobs. It's not quite rotating, but I could see that try to begin. So I'm keeping an eye on that over here in the Weather Center.
Okay, yes. Let me know if that develops any further. But once again, if you are under a tornado warning, it is time to head to your safe place. So Brandenburg, West Point, you have some time before that heads your direction. Elizabeth, that will be in your neck of the woods here soon as well. In fact, I'm going to see how quickly this is moving. So we have a storm moving east at 55 miles per hour here, and we can put a tracker on it. Give me just a moment. And this will give us an idea of timing.
This line is moving pretty quickly.
Yes.
The line usually will begin to overtake the actual rotation. That's how it'll get killed. But we have a little bit before that happens.
Yeah, so here's the timing here. Brandenburg, it's basically on top of you at this point. Laconia at 9:32, Elizabeth at 9:34, Valley Station if it hangs together. Regardless, you're going to have gusty winds along this main line, even if we no longer see that rotation threat. But Valley Station, this would be in your area at 9:41, and then Iroquois Park at 9:44. So it will be cutting into the Louisville Metro at around 9:45, 10 o'clock here. So that is the latest look at the tracker. I'm going to put just back on the warnings here. And let's see if we can see something on velocity. Because, oh, there's that bright. So
that's the rotation.
Yeah, this regardless is a lot of wind. Where you're seeing that bright blue color. Do you see that ball right there? And then once again, as I mentioned before, anytime you see these little notches, that's when you have to worry about any kind of rotation. And these are very tricky setups that we see here. So they have one with this potential rotation right here, I would think is what they're paying attention to, and then this right here. So there's two little areas that they're paying attention to. Now, this does not mean, once again, that we've seen a tornado on the ground. This is always a caution when we start to see some rotation on radar that, hey, this storm may be rotating, and if it is strong enough, it can reach the ground briefly and produce a tornado. So that's why it's always better to stay safe, be safe rather than sorry, and get to your safe place in times like these.
And I do have the debris detector pulled up. Nothing that's indicative of anything being lofted in the air is popping up. So at least at this time, I can't say that there's anything confirmed, and the chat is saying radar indicated.
Right.
Still take this seriously and go to your safe space, which is an interior room away from exterior walls and windows, a basement if you have it, but an interior closet, interior bathroom. Throw a helmet on if you have those. I know that always sounds kind of funny in the moment, but protecting your head is very important. Put your pets in their carriers, their crates, or at least leash them in case the worst does happen. You don't also see your pets freak out and they scatter. We don't want that to happen either. So let's give you the big picture view, and we'll zoom back into those warnings in a moment. So here's the big picture view of what we are looking at this hour. So this is once again considered a squall line, QLCS. There's multiple names for it, but we have a strong cold front that's rolling through Kentuckiana this evening. And obviously we had record-breaking temperatures this afternoon, and temperatures are going to be crashing behind this front tonight. And what we're paying attention to are these little spin-ups that are trying to occur along the leading edge here. Most of us will get wind out of this, and we are seeing some warnings for those wind gusts, 58 miles per hour or stronger right now around New Albany into southern Indiana. But we were watching those notches once again rolling through Harrison County, Indiana, down to Meade County, trying to get into the northernmost portions of Hardin County, maybe eventually if it hangs on. And if that does continue to hang on, it would be moving into West Louisville around 9:45. But obviously we won't know until they do expand that warning further. But where you're seeing that red box here, that is a tornado warning. That's in place until 9:45, so it is time to get into your safe place. Otherwise, along the line,
We are seeing gusty winds, but nothing that's severe warned up near Madison. Also Hardinsburg, it looks like you all are staying below severe limits at this time. The leading edge of this storm system will be moving into areas like Litchfield here soon. But as I mentioned, if you're on the backside of this, your severe weather threat is over. So Jasper, English, Paoli, Bedford, Salem, Seymour, your severe weather threat is over. And now we're just watching this leading edge. So this is a very low instability setup is what it's called, but a high shear setup, which means we have a lot of spin in the atmosphere, not a ton of moisture, but we don't need a ton of fuel for this time of year to really see these storms become severe and or tornadic, which is what we're seeing at this time. So once again, I'm going to walk off so I can zoom in, but I just wanted you all to see my face here. Chief Meteorologist Mallory Schnell along with meteorologist Austin Evans in the Weather Center tonight, trying to keep everybody safe here. Austin, do you have any updates from your area?
I was keeping an eye on the cell. Now you're getting closer to New Albany, Indiana. It's kind of flattened out quite a bit, as you can see where Mallory's got it situated. It's flattened out quite a bit. I did ask the National Weather Service if they were keeping an eye on it. They haven't gotten back with me yet, but they do have other tornado warnings that they're keeping an eye on more closely. So that doesn't appear to be anything that is of concern outside of it obviously being a severe thunderstorm warning, and there's a lot of wind associated with this storm. So not rotating, or at least not to the level of any sort of concern right now. It is really just these two warnings that we're keeping an eye on.
Right. Okay, so they did go ahead and expand. You'll notice the yellow-orange color here. This is your severe thunderstorm warning. So they just expanded this eastward into the Louisville metro area. So this will be until 10 o'clock. So it does look like the line is moving 50 to 55 miles per hour. And this is for wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour possible. So as we mentioned, regardless of if we see additional rotation downstream of what we're seeing right now, we are looking at least the severe wind gust potential up to about 60 miles per hour in the Louisville metro area. So if you're not indoors, just a good idea to get inside regardless. And then the reds here, that's where we're looking at that tornado warning. So Brandenburg, West Point, Elizabeth, Mockport, Dogwood, New Middletown, Laconia, Central. Let's see where the radar is right this moment and see where things line up here. So Laconia, it looks like the strongest winds, heaviest rains are probably over you right now. And that's something that we didn't really mention because I know sometimes it can feel secondary, but it's going to be heavy rainfall with this as well. So say you're out driving and you're not even included in a severe thunderstorm warning or a tornado warning, you're still going to get a lot of heavy rainfall along this leading edge because we're seeing a lot of reds obviously on the radar here along this leading edge of this squall line that is riding through Kentuckiana tonight.
If you drove westward into this leading edge of the storm, your visibility would go from relatively clear to practically zero almost instantly. So we highly recommend not traveling until this system passes. So once again, tornado warning. The reason we are cutting into coverage, and we will always do so when we have a tornado warning issued for our viewing area, is because we're looking at two separate tornado warnings that are right next to each other. So this is for portions of Hardin, Harrison, Meade County, and then this northern edge is just for now a very slim portion of Harrison County in Indiana. Let me take off. Sometimes there's too much noise with the radar there. So you can see Elizabeth, you're currently still under this tornado warning until 9:45. And then those spots down to the south also until 9:45. So time to get in your safe place. Downstream, we're still at least looking at a severe thunderstorm warning as this rolls through Bullitt County, Jefferson County, around Fort Knox, Shepherdsville, up to Fern Creek, over as far east as Anchorage, including, of course, Valley Station, PRP. You are looking at a severe thunderstorm warning until 10 o'clock here. I'm going to pull back up velocity to see what we're looking at. It gets a little tricky when you're right over the radar. Things start to get a bit messy. It's picking up a lot of information. This radar appears to be out of West Point. So that's why things start to get quite a bit digitized, for lack of a better way to describe it, because of how close it is to the radar. It's pulling in a whole lot of information. Not all of that information is necessarily good or clean. We usually want to be fairly close, but there is a point of diminishing returns, which this cell is pretty much in that area. It's not necessarily the cone of silence, but the area where it's real tight and we're not getting a real high look, or the beam's not getting high enough into the clouds. I do have a report out of New Middletown, about 2 miles northeast of New Middletown. Some strong intermittent wind gusts, no hail according to this report to the National Weather Service chat. So as I said earlier during our 6:30 newscast, the leading edge moving through, bringing a whole lot of noise, a lot of rain, a lot of wind. Not necessarily anything that has touched down as of yet. We still have these warnings and we're taking them seriously, but nothing outside of just really loud and scary sounding thunderstorms happening. Of course, this is a wind damage threat as well. And thankfully, we're not seeing any bow echoes or any sort of structures like that. We'd be talking an even worse wind damage threat if that were the case. But it is about to get really loud here in the Louisville metro.
So once again, we've been watching this severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado, because anytime you see those notches, you'll hear us say notches or nubs along the leading edge of a storm system that we're seeing tonight. You can try to see the storm kind of wrap up upon itself. And we do have a lot of wind energy with this storm tonight, even if we don't have a ton of storm fuel. But as I mentioned before, when we get this time of year, you don't need a ton of that. So because of that, we do have this tornado warning still in place until 9:45 for all the areas that you're seeing in red. And once again, you'll notice that they're cutting away the western edge of it, because once that leading edge goes through, that severe weather threat and that tornado threat does diminish. But West Point up to Elizabeth, this is where this current warning is in place. Seven Springs, Sugar Grove. If you're hearing me say any of your areas, please just head down to the lowest level of your home, away from windows, and make sure, of course, you protect your head until this storm does pass. We only have about 5 more minutes left of this potential warning, and then we'll have to see how this storm performs and reacts as it moves into the Louisville metro area. Because as I mentioned, at the very least, we do have this very large severe thunderstorm warning along the leading edge that does include Louisville. It does go down to Bullitt County, just north of Fort Knox, it looks like, until 10 p.m. So that would be for these damaging wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. And this also stretches, it looks like we have additional severe thunderstorm warnings still in place around Sellersburg, up to Charlestown. But as I mentioned, once you get past that leading edge, all we have to do is get past this leading edge here. And I'm going to draw a little circle area. If you're west or northwest of this, you are in the clear. So Brandenburg is now passing through your area. Hardinsburg looks like it's also passing through you. And I know we don't have severe thunderstorm warnings along that southern edge of it, but that heaviest rain, the gustiest winds will now be off to your east. And then we just have some rain and maybe severe thunderstorm warning wind gusts continuing in areas like English, Corydon, Palmyra, Salem. That severe threat has passed you at this time, and we're just watching it for the areas now off to the east and southeast of that line. Because this will continue to push off to the east and southeast. As we mentioned, one good thing about lines like these is they move pretty quickly. So we have to watch them very intently, but they move very quickly. They get in and out very quickly, and your severe weather threat will diminish pretty quickly. And once again, as I mentioned, this leading edge here. So now as we head into areas like Radcliffe, E-Town, you're included in this severe thunderstorm warning now. Let's see how long this one's in place till 10:15. And this is due to those wind gusts of 60 miles per hour. Now, with lines like these, it's just best to, in general, be in a safer place, because they can, even if they're not tornado warned, they can spin up very quickly. And you know, anytime we get tornadoes with these lines, a lot of times they're not super strong ones. Usually they're short-lived, but it can occur very quickly. So it's important that you're indoors, you're in a safe place in general, even if you're just under a severe thunderstorm warning rather than a tornado warning at this time.
I'm keeping an eye on our Jeffersonville camera and looking at what I'm seeing on that camera and then comparing what I'm seeing on radar. And it's moving into Jeffersonville right now because we've pretty much lost visual on downtown Louisville. And mind you that is not a very large distance between that camera. You can barely see the Kennedy Bridge there. And again, this is part of our Shriners Children's Hospital camera network, this camera. So this is that leading edge. I'm surprised the camera's not shaking as much as it was just a few minutes ago, but you can see that blowing rain. You can kind of see the eddies in the rain a little bit. So we've lost, that's how quickly the visibility drops with this type of very, very heavy rain. So the leading edge is pretty much moving into downtown Louisville right now. I'm surprised we can't hear it outside. Is the building that well sound insulated? I'm used to hearing it.
We'll likely be hearing it soon.
Okay.
Yeah, especially if there's wind with it. So once again, we have a severe thunderstorm warning. Anytime you're seeing that orangish, yellowish color until 10 o'clock, or the farther south you go, 10:15. The reason we are cutting into your movie this evening is due to these tornado warnings in the red. The National Weather Service was seeing some notches along that leading edge that were a little concerning, so they went ahead and issued tornado warnings along that edge, and we had 2 separate ones issued. They're obviously continuing to cut away on the backside of this, but this particular warning is only in place for another minute or so because it looks like, honestly, I'm looking at velocity right now as well as radar, and it's off to the east of those warnings already. So now we're looking at more so these stronger winds heading into southwest Louisville, and whether or not we see any kind of rotation with it or just strong winds with it will dictate whether or not there's any additional tornado warnings issued or just sticking with the severe thunderstorm warnings. So here's that big picture view again. We are now beginning to see the leading edge of this line roll into the Louisville Metro. And as Austin mentioned, a lot of heavy rainfall involved here, gusty winds as well. Louisville, we are under this severe thunderstorm warning until 10 p.m. And this will continue to push off to the east and southeast, really out of our coverage area, I would say. By midnight, it was looking at like earlier this evening. So, you know, we keep an eye on the radar as long as we need to. But once again, those warnings that we had in place until 9:45, my computer is a little slow with allowing those to expire, but those have expired. It is now 9:45, and that leading edge is east of you. So if you were included in those tornado warnings, the worst of it is now east of you. And you're kind of seeing what they were looking at here around, I would say, the Valley Station area.
And we do have an update from the National Weather Service. They're just mentioning the subtle nubs and surges with weak rotation further southwest along the line. One in Meade County, southwest of the radar, which we've been keeping an eye on that. And then one in eastern Breckenridge County. Both of them we've been keeping an eye on. And from what I've seen, the rotation has broadened out quite a bit. They did mention the Floyd's Nub has also weakened, which it weakened while we were pretty much talking about it. We do have a report from Clark County Emergency Management on 812 Country Lake Road in Henryville, a large tree down causing multiple utility poles to bend, and at US 31 at Brownstown Road, also in Clark County, a large tree down blocking US 31 removed by the fire department. So it looks like they've gotten to that already. So with this system, this is a lot of high wind, and thankfully the trees don't have a whole lot of leaves on them, if any at all. Depending on the type. So we should see a relatively low relatively low amounts of trees being knocked over, depending on the health of the tree, which the weaker the health of the tree, the easier they are going to be to knock over, and then we could get some power outage issues, which I wouldn't be surprised if there were some here in portions of Kentucky, Anna.
And just so our team behind the scenes knows, I know a lot of times we drop this coverage, we go back to main coverage when we no longer have a tornado warning. I would like to stick with this line for just a little bit longer since we are seeing a couple of nubs. I don't want to break away and then come back on here if something does start to spin up. So I think we're going to stick with this, at least the severe thunderstorm warning that we're seeing in Jefferson County until 10 p.m. And then hopefully we'll continue to see at least some weakening along this line. But I was noticing some notches here down to the south. So anytime you see some nubs and notches, that's really when you have to pay attention to any kind of circulation here. And that's why, you know, we're being safe rather than sorry. The northeastern edge of this doesn't look to be as strong. You know, you're getting some heavy rain up in Prospect, over to Bedford, and then off to the north as well. But we don't have any severe thunderstorm warnings for your particular area at this time. Just some heavy rainfall. Regardless, we're going to have gusty winds. I do want to remind everybody that we are under a wind advisory. This is until Monday at 7 a.m.
Eastern.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that one popped up, but 7 a.m. Eastern time. That is just due to wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour, which we've been seeing some very gusty winds throughout the course of the day today, ahead of the line and also behind this front, because we have a big temperature drop coming as we carry on into tonight. Those temperatures will be dipping back down into the 30s and eventually the 20s tonight, and we'll have some wind chills tomorrow in the teens. And that's why really this is so strong. I want to show this temperature difference that we're seeing right now. This is across the area. So obviously we've had a lot of warmth and humidity coming in from the south here, surging northward, and that's why obviously we have a lot of wind today. You can tell where the cold front is located. We're still at 71 as the latest update in Louisville. I'm sure once that rain rolls in, that'll really cool us off. We can tell there's 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s, and then teens off to our northwest. So this is really fueling the severe weather threat. It's hard for us to go from record high temperatures back to winter in the same sweep here without there being some kind of severe weather threat. So that's what we're seeing tonight. This is all fueling the storms that we are seeing here. And there's not a ton of fuel, I will say, but there is a lot of spin in the atmosphere, and that will continue to guide this line. This is the latest look at the model data that we use, continuing to guide this line, that skinny band there, off to the east and southeast. This is 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. By midnight, you can tell it's out of Adair County, out of our viewing area, and that severe weather risk will be over. So once that main line passes your area, you're out of the severe weather threat, and then we're just left with that colder air that will be filling in behind there.
Another quick update from Clark County Emergency Management in Indiana. 151 Ohio Avenue in Sellersburg, Indiana. Trees and power lines down in the roadway. Also from the National Weather Service in Louisville at Louisville International, SDF gusting to 54 miles per hour. Again, that's wind gusts, not sustained, but that is rather stout and pretty much right in line with what we were expecting.
Right, so that's why we do have these severe thunderstorm warnings along this leading edge here. So expect some very gusty winds. This will be a loud storm. It's really rolling through Kentuckiana right now. Iroquois Park, Fairdale, Louisville International Airport area, Audubon Park. This is also stretching up through St. Matthews, and then really northeastward into Prospect, because even though up in Prospect you all aren't included in the severe thunderstorm warning, you're still dealing with some very heavy rainfall along this line. So this severe thunderstorm warning is in place until 10 o'clock here, and we're going to carry it with you until this rolls through the metro, just to make sure that there's no additional notches or nubs that we're looking at for those areas of circulation spin ups. It does look like the one that I was looking at that was just west of Fort Knox, that has has kind of dissipated, which is good news. You know, I start to see some of these signals of these notches or nubs, which you'll hear us talk about a lot when we're talking about a squall line or a QLCS. But, you know, a couple radar scans later, it's no longer there, which is good news. We like to see that. So we did have a tornado watch in effect for some of our counties. That was allowed to expire. You know, the general idea is as this system continues to push off to the east and southeast, it will continue to weaken. But obviously, we were able to catch up into enough of that shear here and just enough instability to issue a few warnings along this leading edge. So I know we sound repetitive, but if you're behind that leading edge of that line, your severe weather threat has ended, which is some great news. So for folks up in Sellersburg, New Albany, Charlestown, over to Corydon, Palmyra, Leavenworth, Brandenburg, Irvington, Hardinsburg, you all are out of the severe weather threat. Litchfield, this storm is just about to roll into your area. Not currently severe warned, but still may pack a punch with obviously heavy rainfall, gusty winds along that leading edge here. E-Town, not in your area just yet. Let me actually I'm going to put another tracker on this. This has been moving about 50 to 55 miles per hour.
While you're setting up the tracker,
Yep.
if the leading edge is passed and everything, and if you might suspect that there's damage outside or whatever, trees down or limbs down or whatever, let's leave it until tomorrow morning because it's dark. You don't want to accidentally step on any downed lines that may or may not be there. We've gotten reports of downed power lines in Sellersburg, Indiana, and multiple utility poles bent in Clark County in general near Henryville. So let's stay inside, leave it to the professionals. If you can see stuff from inside, report it. But let's not venture outside just in case you might run into live wires. We don't want that to happen. I've been trying to find information on power outages. There isn't a ton of them from what I can tell, which is a good thing.
That is a good thing. So let me actually zoom back in. I zoomed out a little too far. I'm going to zoom into the severe warned area. I put a tracker on this if it's moving toward the east at around 50 miles per hour, moving into Shepherdsville here in the next few minutes, moving into E-Town just after 10 o'clock, moving into Shelbyville around 10:17, Bartstown at 10:26, and then it's off to our east in Frankfort already at 10:40. So as we mentioned, this is a very quick moving storm, which is great news, but obviously it's going to pack a punch for the few minutes that it's right over your house. And that's why we do have a couple of these severe thunderstorm warnings in place due to wind gusts around 60 miles per hour possible. As we mentioned, along with that, also some very heavy rainfall along the leading edge. Anytime you're seeing the reflectivity that's oranges or reds, you're dealing with some very heavy rainfall at that time. So this is once again our weather impact alert for tonight. We are continuing to track this leading edge of severe storms that are rolling through the Kentucky and viewing area. This is out ahead of a cold front that's really going to cause our temperatures to plummet overnight from the 70s that we had record-breaking today to the 20s and 30s by early tomorrow morning. So leading edge of this now over Okolona, Butchel, about to move into Fern Creek, also up to Anchorage as well. And obviously anytime we're seeing this red here, those are the heaviest rainfall amounts that we'll see with this leading edge. It's now east of the airport. I'm going to put on some velocity. Anytime we talk about velocity, we're talking about wind speed and wind direction. And so when you have the brighter colors, that's anything that's a little bit faster wind speed, stronger wind speed. And then when you see those greens and reds that try to tighten up and rotate around each other, that's where you're seeing any kind of chance for rotation. But as we mentioned, what we had on the backside of this when we did cut in with the original tornado warnings, that has since weakened. So that's some good news there.
I do have an update from the National Weather Service from CJ Padgett to be exact. Not planning to issue another severe downstream for Louisville. We'll let this one expire. So they are seeing well, they're seeing it move through Louisville, and it's pretty much on the east side of Louisville at this time. So they don't see any reason to give any more downstream warnings for this particular storm. So also, hopefully, that means that they're seeing the whole thing in general weaken, which may end up being the case depending on the temperature and just, in general, the energies that may or may not be there. And if we're getting some rain out ahead of it, that might help us see those. That might help us see the leading edge weaken a little bit as well.
Okay, yeah. So a good visual for this is kind of the SPC outlook, because the idea is as this continues to track east and southeast through the state here, it should move into a much weaker environment as we continue onward through tonight. So as Austin mentioned, hoping that this line does continue to weaken here. We still do have a severe thunderstorm warning just along this leading edge for the next couple of minutes, but as Austin mentioned, once again, they're not looking to extend this further, at least at this time. So many of us, we're looking at gusty winds, heavy rainfall as this leading edge continues to push through the Louisville metro area. Down to the south, Shepherdsville, it's moving into your area, Fort Knox, Radcliffe, not in E-Town just yet. It'll be in E-Town here likely in the next 10 minutes there. And then that leading edge moving into Litchfield, but no longer seeing those severe thunderstorm warnings down to the south or off to the north. So LaGrange, you're getting heavy rainfall, nothing severe right now. Bedford, it's now past you. Carrollton, it's now past you. So if you hear the rain lessening where you are, that leading edge has passed you. So you can tell right now in Louisville, it's currently in Fern Creek, up to J-Town, Anchorage as well, up to Crestwood, down to Hillview. Once again, Shepherdsville, Radcliffe, Vine Grove, Rhineyville as well. I'm trying to see if there's any other areas that I'm worried about. This looks like a little.
I'm not seeing any particular spots of interest popping up. There's a few. There's a few places where it's jagged, but nothing that would indicate rotational. And the more green that starts to show up ahead of that leading edge, just ahead of it, not the stuff like near Cox's Creek or anything, but the more green that shows up right before that leading edge, that will help our case going forward. That may lessen the blow a little bit, but it looks like right now these storms are turning more into a loud and noisy situation rather than anything particularly tornadic, or hopefully, maybe if we can over the next hour, get sub-severe.
Right. Okay, we can start to wrap up this coverage here. I'm just going to show you all the overview at this time. So here's that big picture view. The leading edge of this storm system is rolling into eastern Louisville, but once again, they did not extend that severe thunderstorm warning. So you're dealing with gusty winds that are sub-severe, so below 58 miles per hour. Heavy rainfall, Fern Creek up to Anchorage, Crestwood as well, down to Hillview. We still do have this severe thunderstorm warning in place until 10:15. So that's when it's going to be heading toward areas like E-Town, Shepherdsville, it's right over you, Radcliffe, it's right over you. That'll continue to move into Hardin County and areas of Bullitt County for the next 10 to 15 minutes. But this is Chief Meteorologist Mallory Schnell along with meteorologist Austin Evans here. We will continue to keep an eye on the radar and we'll cut in if necessary as we continue onward throughout the rest of this evening. So thanks for tuning in and stay safe.